Hello guys, it's Teenage DC Fan back in the video, and after a 2-week hiatus for the Super Bowl and the Oscars, of course, Batwoman did not hold back on the emotions upon its return to our TV screens. What started as a simple story about grief, regret, second chances, and the choices we make took a very quick turn for the dramatic by the end and left things much worse than when they started. So let's not waste any time, shall we? Just a quick warning, this video does contain spoilers for Batwoman Season 1, Episode 12, Take Your Choice. But before I start talking about the episode itself, one thing I'd like to mention is that it's a little disappointing that we didn't get a new intro for this episode. Because if you've been watching other DC shows like The Flash and DC's Legends of Tomorrow, then you may have noticed, they have new theme intro things that have short montages of all the characters and stuff, and I was hoping that trend would continue into these other shows with Batwoman and Supergirl, but unfortunately that is not the case. At least Supergirl would have made sense. Batwoman, with it being its first season, that would have been something weird to do, to change up the intro halfway through the first season. But Supergirl has been on only 1 year less than The Flash, and has been on the same amount of time as Legends of Tomorrow, so why do Flash and Legends of Tomorrow get a new intro, but not Supergirl, at least? Or Batwoman, I guess. But anyway, this episode could easily be called Kate Kane and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, for the amount of emotional turmoil our girl goes through in just a few short hours. And thanks to the combined genius that is Mary, Luke, and Beth, they quickly deduce that what's happening to Beth and Alice is happening because there are two of them in a single reality, and that cannot happen because physics. Yeah. So this serves the dual purpose of putting a ticking clock on the proceedings, thus ramping up the tension and putting Luke and Beth in a position to be adorable nerds together. It's sweet and sad all at the same time, because by the end of the episode nothing will be the same, though at this point we don't know exactly what will change and how it will affect the show. But what we do know is that Kate and company have exactly 7 hours to figure out how to save at least one of the Beths before they both shuffle off this mortal coil. One roadblock to their collective safety, in addition to cellular breakdown, is Sophie. The commander of the Crows is not coping with the fact that she allowed Alice to escape, and she's dealing with it by taking things to the opposite extreme. She's placed a shoot-to-kill order on Alice and launched a massive manhunt throughout Gotham, complete with roadblocks and checkpoints that aren't winning her or the Crows any points in a city that only mostly tolerates their position as a pseudo-law enforcement for the rich and privileged. With Jacob in jail and Alice back on the loose, the Crows are losing clients and respect fast. And Kate, as Batwoman, pleads with Sophie not to make an authoritarian takeover of the city in a bloodthirsty act of revenge, the act that starts her career as leader of the organization. If there is one place this show still can't seem to find its legs, it's the ongoing issue of the Crows and their role in the society of Gotham City. They're still skirting around the big systematic problem they seem to want the Crows to be, but never spend the necessary screen time to make it hit home. Instead, we get things like we had in this episode, where characters like Vesper, Fairchild, and Dodgson, Jacob Kane's fellow inmate and former Crow Wonderland gang member, tell us about the things the Crows do. Vesper's voice over is what sets up the idea that the roadblocks and checkpoints are something Gotham citizens might find imposing. Now, Dodson tells us that the Crows beat and bribe the citizens of Gotham who cannot pay for the Crows' protection. But we never see what this organization does in a city like Gotham, where corruption is rampant and they operate above the police with relative impunity. There's a lot there. I just hope eventually they start to unpack it all. Meanwhile, they have no trouble unpacking the huge amounts of interpersonal drama befalling the Kane family once again, starting when Alice discovers she isn't the only Beth in town. After Mouse spills the beans from his hospital bed, Alice makes a beeline for Kate's office, where she confronts the version of herself she would have been if only she'd been pulled from the car crash in time. Kate was already beating herself up over this after learning how Beth escaped Alice's fate last week, and, well, actually, like 3 weeks ago, but Alice is too far gone to allow herself the level of empathy it would require to forgive her sister for failing to save her life when she was just 13 years old. Instead, Alice blames Kate further for her perceived failures and finds she has no trouble hating this reminder of the life she lost so long ago. And so we're left with a choice about which Beth to save. The one from this universe, but who has brought nothing but pain and terror onto those who might love or help her, or the one who doesn't belong here, but represents the person Kate and Jacob might have saved if they'd made different choices 15 years previous. For some, like Mary, the choice is simple. Alice killed her mother, nearly killed her, and sent her stepfather to prison for a murder he didn't even commit. Beth is a kind, smart person, capable of empathy, and who wanted to protect Mary when given the opportunity. This is why when Alice shows up at Mary's clinic demanding her help, and the two stumble upon a solution courtesy of Mary's own blood, and the cure Alice gave her weeks back, Mary is not exactly on Team Alice. To her credit, or perhaps because Kate has Beth stashed in the Batcave for her own safety, and is the only person who can get to her, Mary does allow Kate to make the choice between the two versions of her sister. But the choice isn't easy for Kate, however. She's got a lot of guilt and regret hanging in the balance. On the one hand, the sister a different version of her was able to save. The person she wishes Alice could be, but knows she never will. On the other side, the sister she's failed to save once already, and she has the chance to save this time around. It's definitely an impossible choice, but shockingly, not only does Kate end up making it, she chooses Beth over Alice. And it's a selfish choice, yes. Not that there's a version of this decision that wouldn't have come down to Kate's own feelings and guilt, but it's not one she makes lightly. After making sure that Beth is safe with Luke, Kate does the honorable thing and goes to Alice to explain and to sit with her sister while she dies. And I have to admit, Ruby Rose is great in this scene, but holy hell does Rachel Scarsden bring down the house in this entire episode. It's the nicest ending to a terrible choice, but the danger and drama are nowhere near over, unfortunately. Because while all of this has been happening, two other threats have been breathing down their necks. First, Sophie and the Crows are still out for Alice's blood. Second, Mouse's terrifying father is back in the picture, and he's broken Mouse out of the hospital, and is none too happy with his son for betraying him and taking up with Alice. Unfortunately, both have found their way to the place where Luke has taken Beth to be safe, and though Sophie has a change of heart and chooses to arrest her rather than kill her in cold blood, Mouse's father is a lot less forgiving, and he shoots Beth in the back, killing her instantly. And it turns out it was the right instant too, because Alice hadn't fully drifted away. At the moment Beth dies, Alice snaps back as if nothing had happened. She's alive, and she is pissed at Kate for once again choosing not to save her. But next week there's a vampire in Gotham, and I'm so excited. Batwoman, the comic, is always best when it leans into the very weird and extremely supernatural, and she's had her fair share of run-ins with vampires in its pages. Anyway, that was pretty much all that happened in this episode of Batwoman. Please let me know your thoughts on this episode down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hope to see you in the next video so I can bestow all my DC knowledge upon you.